We have more for your ears only. I'm David Alpern.
I'm Catherine Herzog with this news quote. There's not a good reason in this world for why I did the horrible things I did. That was Army Staff Sergeant Robert Bales pleading guilty to the murder of 16 Afghan civilians last year in a deal that spared him from the death penalty. Also last week, Fort Hood Army doctor Nidal Hassan, acting as his own defense attorney, claimed he killed 13 people at Fort Hood to protect fellow Muslims in Afghanistan. And the trial of PFC Bradley Manning got underway to decide if his massive transfer of military and diplomatic documents to WikiLeaks was whistleblowing or aiding the enemy. Now this.
And there's the videos. We're going to show you some of these for TV viewers, and we come back with our guests where they fire with the lower receiver and the clip through this. And that's the beginning of very, very big things and has really scared the system. Talk about an equalizing force against the tyrants.
The equalizing force conservative radio host Alex Jones referred to is a 3D printable, yes, printable gun, the blueprints for which were created by his 25-year-old guest, Cody Wilson, and the tyrant's presumably government. In fact, it took just 2 days for federal authorities to order Wilson's gun blueprint files to be pulled from his defense-distributed website. Still, Wilson says the free files were downloaded more than 100,000 times before the government intervened. 15 of the gun's 16 parts are made of plastic that is undetectable by airport security.
The gun, named the Liberator, was printed on a Stratasys Dimension SST 3D printer and was successfully test-fired in Texas, prompting some lawmakers to call for a ban on printable weapons. But tech expert Shelly says plastic guns are merely the darkest side of 3D printing, whose major threat is to the entire current system of manufacture, distribution, and sales, with ordinary consumers potentially the biggest beneficiaries. A high-tech innovator and commentator for Fox Television, United Stations Radio's Digital Living, Palmer is also the author of Digital Wisdom and Overcoming the Digital Divide. And he joins us now for Your Ears Only. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. How are you?
First, this idea that you can print something more than a sheet of paper or plastic is potentially quite new to many people. So could you just explain how 3D printing, also called additive manufacturing, actually works?
Well, you've said it properly. It's additive manufacturing. 3D printing is just a slang term for it. What happens is you take a material, and it doesn't matter what kind of material it is. It could be plastic. It could be carbon fiber. It could be human tissue. It could be ceramic. It could be wood chips that are mixed with a binding agent so that you can print in wood. And you print whatever object you want to print one layer at a time, one very thin layer at a time. And you add the layers together, and when you're all finished, a three-dimensional object is what you have left. Now, the thing that makes this unique and interesting is that we live in a connected world. And in my book, Digital Wisdom, which is subtitled Thought Leadership for a Connected World, I articulate as best I can what that means to all of us individually. As we are connected to one another, we're able to share files. We can share music, we can share movies, we can share information through document files and PDF files. And in this case, we can share three-dimensional objects by sending the computer files that represent them to each other. And if each of us has a three-dimensional printer or an additive manufacturing printer, we can print those things out. Now, what got my knickers in a knot, if you will, was when they printed the 3D gun and everybody went, oh, goodness gracious, this is terrible. Let's ban 3D weapons and guns and we shouldn't have printing. Ladies and gentlemen, printing in plastic is very, very common, and it has been for over a decade. You can print in stainless steel. By the way, the plans for the 1911 A1 Colt 45, designed by Browning in 1911, also known as the 1911 A1, the most popular semi-automatic pistol in the world, those plans have been online since there's been online. If you're worried about a plastic gun that's undetectable by an airline metal detector, I'm much more worried about gun control laws in general when people are printing 3D printing or additively manufacturing stainless steel weapons that have no point of origin. That's the dark side. The light side, the best side of this, comes from the fact that you can actually print human tissue and transplant this tissue into bodies. They're making three-dimensional printed frameworks on which they will grow heart valves now and be able to implant them to save people's lives. You can take the economy and look at it in general and say, we have an economy based on building extra material for spare parts. We spend all the energy assuming certain parts are going to break, and we inventory them, we store them. We have to heat the warehouses, we have to pay the people to guard them. Here, when something breaks, you can actually manufacture a replacement part on demand. Now, if you want a perfect metaphor for it, we can use two-dimensional printing like they do at Amazon. Many of the books at Amazon are not kept in stock anymore. They're printed on demand. When you send an order, they find the computer file, and they literally manufacture the book, and it goes directly out to you shipped out to you immediately, but it's not manufactured until you order it. It's the same kind of concept with a replacement part as opposed to a spare part. So the benefits to society, the change in manufacturing, both on supply side and demand side, saving of fuel, saving of all kinds of different ways we spend money and energy now, and literally changing the way we design things. So this is a fantastic technology, and the progress that we are making with it is by leaps and bounds. It's literally changing everything about manufacturing and has been for over a decade.
So what kind of products, between human organs and firearms, what kind of products do you think are most likely to be made on a do-it-yourself basis in individual homes with this technology, or at least in local or regional plants?
So this opens up all kinds of things. If you're a small manufacturer, you used to have to send out for tool and dies to be made. Now an industrial-strength 3D printer can take the heavy lifting off of that particular process. More importantly, and the part that excites me, is if you know how to use Autodesk or some of the CAD/CAM, computer-assisted design, computer-assisted manufacturing programs that are out there, you can think about very inexpensive startup costs for all kinds of new things. What you're likely to see early is what we've already seen, where big industrial plants have big industrial versions of these to help them with their prototyping, to make better prototypes, rapidly prototype functional devices. And I'm not sure when all the DIYers are going to get it, if you look at the way two-dimensional paper printing on, let's say, laser printing, high-speed laser printing, changed the business. The first thing people thought was that, oh no, the book business is out of business. Everyone's going to just print books. And of course, that's not what happened at all. People didn't print whole books at home. It takes too much paper and too much time, and you have to bind it, and it's not an emotionally satisfying experience. I'm not expecting people to manufacture chairs in their house or manufacture their silverware or manufacture their cups and saucers. Although they could, it's not a great use of your time, and at the moment, it's relatively expensive, too expensive to do, and you're not going to get satisfying results.
Tech expert Shelly Palmer is a commentator for Fox Television, United Station Radio's Digital Living, and is the author of Digital Wisdom and Overcoming the Digital Divide.
Here's a quote from the news. Not every commander can distinguish between a slap on the ass and a rape. That was Senator Kristen Gillibrand at a hearing where top military officials opposed proposed legislation to shift authority over prosecution and sentencing in sex abuse cases to experienced military prosecutors, the better to cope with sexual assaults, an estimated 26,000 cases last year.
Next, the real music of Gatsby, for your ears only.